Hello, hi, I'm Gearlene Williams-Dortch of 7 Keys to a Prosperous Life. And my guest is Dennis Pittman. Now, you heard him last week. We going on the second part now. How we doing, Dennis?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Last week, we talked about let your money make money for you. Now, today, we're going to talk about paying on time, maintaining good credit, and budgeting. This is very important. So let's get started. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is budgeting. Budgeting is important because it gets you in a habit of knowing what you're doing with your money. It gets you in a habit of putting money away in different envelopes. I use envelopes. You can use cans. You can use whatever you want to use. But you got to have an envelope for each thing. And to maintain your credit, you got to pay your bills on time. So if you don't pay your bills on time, get your stuff on your iPhone or whatever and your calendar, and you put down what bills you got to pay and what's the date. So what do you think about that?
I agree 100%. And a lot of people do the auto pay. How you feel about auto pay?
That's good too.
Where the bills come out at a set time
Right.
every single month. It's a secure way to know that you're taking care of what you got to take care of.
Right. Now you got to know your money, how much money's in the bank.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to overdraft.
Okay, you don't want to overdraft that. Don't blame it on the bank.
I think I'm going to do the envelopes like you. I don't like auto pay.
Yeah, but if you know how much money coming in every week, you know what your paycheck is.
Right.
Auto pay is fine, but you also got to tell yourself, okay, this coming out this day. You know how much money you got in that bank, because otherwise you're going to start getting bank fees.
Yeah.
They might let the check go by.
You'll throw your budget off.
It throws your budget way off. How much are those fees now? $25 or more?
$35.
$35. See?
My brother he said he had a $35 bank fee for overdraft.
Right. So you got to know what your budget is. Now, we got a budget for entertainment. Now, if you want to go somewhere, like you was talking about the 40-40-20.
Correct.
Okay, and we living off the 20. You know what your 20% is. If you plan on a vacation, for instance, put $10 in your envelope for vacation.
That's right.
Okay? You don't use it for nothing else. That is just for vacation. The next thing is, if you want to buy a car, you got an envelope for buying that car. And you put your money that you know you can put in that till that amount comes on that. I always say, be prepared. You know how this virus went around, and when everybody had to stay home, people was crying broke that day. I don't have money coming in. I got to pay my bills. How am I pay?
Right.
What you should have done? You should have had an emergency envelope.
Yep. You should have an emergency fund.
But what they used to say 6 months advance. You should have a 6 months advance. You know what your income is. You should have 6 months of your income in that envelope if something happened. Now we ain't talking about, I feel like going somewhere. I'm gonna take it out of there. That's not an emergency. Emergency was happened this past year. That's definitely an emergency. You had enough to pay your mortgage with.
Yeah, you weren't stressed out.
Right.
Immediately.
And I'd be so amazed every time I hear that. I said, it's just been a week. You broke already? Already you broke? That means what? You were spending money that you didn't have in the first place.
Right. And it's so important not to wing it on a budget, because you'll look up and you'll think that you're doing better than you are.
Right.
Because everything in the house is still on, the lights is on, the gas is on, the cable's on. And you don't have a dime.
Nothing. That's why we was talking about that CD thing.
Yeah.
Now, I have heard people saying, well, I had CDs and I had 401ks, but emergencies came up and I had to take it out. They didn't have a budget. They didn't have an emergency budget.
I had a friend who said that they couldn't get to their 401k.
What happened?
She said that the bank was stalling on how long it would take for her to get the money.
Uh-huh.
And she needed the money right away. And it took her 2 or 3 weeks to get it or something. And I don't know that to be a fact. This is her story.
Right, that's her story.
And I won't say the bank's name, of course.
No.
But that's scary in itself.
Right, because you're depending on that money. Really, like I said, 401k is for your retirement.
Right. And she's nowhere near retirement
right.
age.
So, number one, the bank don't want you to do it, but they supposed to. A 401k, you're supposed to take money out, but it's a loan.
Right.
Okay?
A loan to yourself, correct?
Loan to yourself. You're paying yourself back. Now, if you don't pay that money back, now that's when the IRS steps in and starts saying, okay, you took money out, and this is your penalty for taking that money out before your time.
Right.
Because CDs also have time periods. You know, there's a 3 year, 1 year, 5 months, 6 months. All depends on what you choose to have a CD on.
Right.
So when you take it out early, we think IRS going to step in and take their 40%.
Right. And the rates on a CD aren't the same as they used to be, so it's almost not even worth it anymore.
Right.
I mean, it's still a savings account,
right,
to a certain extent,
right.
But
still, it's some money that you're gonna have later on in your life.
Right.
You know, and that's what we're talking about. So we're talking about emergency money that you got to have put away, and we talking about income. If something happened to like this virus thing, you should have had at least 6 months in that envelope. Now, that means you can't go on vacation for a little bit till you get that 6 months, because that's number one.
Would you agree with me that the emergency fund is the most important part of a budget? Okay.
Yes, it is.
And then once you're setting up a budget, what's the next important thing past the emergency fund?
Okay. Well, I don't know. I guess we talk about. We already know about the household fund.
Right.
We also know you got to have the money
for
the lights and right.
Yeah, you got to have a roof.
And you always got to pay your rent. That's my dad is. He went out, and people have so many excuses. It's Christmas time. You still got to pay where you live at first.
Right.
You want to get kicked out on Christmas time?
Right.
You know that
it's cold outside.
Right, it's cold outside, but they have excuses for why they ain't paid the rent, because somebody's like kid's birthday coming up and all this. That's why you're supposed to have a Christmas fund.
Exactly.
The banks offer Christmas funds now. You tell them how much you want to save for Christmas fund. They tell you this how much money you got to pay every week. And then at December, I think a week or 2 weeks before Christmas, they will send you that check for the amount that you say. So you don't have to get all stressed out Christmas,
right,
buy unnecessary stuff, you know, but you have your money. If you want to save $1,000, you have $1,000, you know, for Christmas. So so don't be using excuses not to pay your rent first, because you have to pay where you live at.
And Christmas is one of the most notorious times for budgets being thrown off.
Right. And
it's not that serious.
No, we make it more serious than the kids make it serious.
We do.
The kids, hey, if they had a box, I have seen people who buy all these toys for these kids, and it was so much toys that they was just going through that package so quick they didn't even know what they had. And then the little kid going playing with the box, not with the toy. You know,
sounds like my kids.
You know, so
definitely sounds like my son.
Yeah, so we got to be thinking every time we have some money in our hand. You know, cash. If you got cash in your hand, then you know you can't. That's better than a credit card. Right. I know they want you to have credit. Okay, you got to have credit. But if you have too many credit cards, that's going to get your credit too. Now we're going to talk about maintaining credit.
Right.
Okay. If you have too many credit cards, say you have 4 credit cards, you really should have 2. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then you shouldn't use it all the time. If you got cash in your hand, use that cash, and you don't have no more cash in your hand, that means you're done for the day. Okay, every day I got $100. This is all I'm gonna spend today. If that cash, that's all you have, that's it.
I was listening to a financial guru of sorts. His name is Dave Ramsey.
Oh yeah,
I like Dave.
Yes,
and he preaches that you shouldn't use credit at all. It's like, if you don't have the cash, then you don't need it right now.
Right. But you need credit for a house.
Right.
And most people want their own homes.
And yeah, he was like, the only good credit is the house. He's like, every other credit is bad credit.
Well, it is.
Or bad debt, I should say.
Bad debt. Like I said, if you have too many credit cards, the bank would count that against you. Why? Because they say if you got each card, you can get $1,000 or $10,000. They say, well, you got $10,000 that you can get at any time.
Right.
So that's going against you because most people would go get that credit card if something goes wrong and charge it to the top of it. You know, now you got a problem with 6 cards. You got 6 cards. Say you had $10,000 on each card. 6 cards. That's $60,000 that you just got yourself in debt.
Right.
And the interest rate is crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
The interest is what keeps you in debt.
Right.
Especially if you're paying the minimum on all of those cards. That $60,000 will turn into $250.
Right.
Really fast.
Real quick. And say okay. Say you got you don't even use that 6 credit cards or 4 credit cards you have. They still going to count against you. So if you got 6 cards or 4 cards and you pay on it, minimum, you're in deep.
And even when you have a card that you don't use, you still have to pay a yearly fee on that card.
Right. You're paying for just to have a card.
You're paying just to have it.
Come on now. You can keep that $50 they charge you or $25 they charge you and put it in one of your envelopes.
A lot of them have went up, and they're like close to $200-$300 to have the card.
Man, we got to be a smart people now. Times are hard for everyone.
Right.
But if you're smart, it won't be stressful on you. It might be hard for somebody else, and you sit back and just smile, and they didn't want to know why you smiling. I'm debt free. I got my budget. I got my envelopes here. Hey, if I want to go on vacation, here's my envelope. Let's go. And whatever in that envelope, you cannot go over that budget for that vacation. I don't care how great a time you have.
It's important to not get caught up in the quote keeping up with the Joneses aspect of spending, because like I was telling you before, I had the maid, and I would clean up before the maid came, and I would pay her $150 a week to come clean up 3 times a week.
Right.
And she's coming into a very clean house to clean up.
Right.
So I'm purchasing the status of having a maid instead of a service of her cleaning.
Right.
And that's dumb spending. That's a dumb purchase to have in my budget.
Right. Right.
So,
I thought you had a story about a friend.
Oh, I did. So I was speaking to a family member. She watches the show.
Okay.
Hi, family member.
Hi.
And she was letting me know that she was $30,000 in debt. And I was so puzzled. I was like, how did this happen to you? And she ran down her list of items that I'm like, well, let me see your budget. And of course, we're making a budget like brand new at this point.
Right.
And she's going through her bills. And her total bills were approximately $2,200 a month. She makes $3,000 a month. And you're 30. I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
Now you've written it all out.
Right.
It's you.
Right.
You have to understand that your mindset has to change now, because your bank account is broke because your thought process is poor.
Yes.
And poor is a mentality. Broke is your financial status. But you have to change the way you think.
Right.
Before your finances change. They will not change until you change the way you're looking at money. You're looking at money horribly.
Right.
And of the $30,000 worth of debt, 25 was credit cards.
That's If you want to know how sick you are in finances, write it down.
Yep.
That's
it
how
hurts
you
when you
out.
see it.
Right. Your mouth will be open and said, I did that. You can't blame somebody. Oh, the bank did this to me. No, write it down. How much you spend every day. Just one day, and just see how much you spend, and see if it really was necessary for what you bought. Number one.
Right.
Was it necessary? Was it a want or was it a need?
And it's always a want.
Right.
When you look at it, it's always a want.
It's always a want. Now, I know Ramsey, he mentioned about cars. He said, if you look at a $50,000 car and you all you can afford is really a $20,000 car, why are you going for that a $50,000 car? Right. It's still gonna get you to A and B.
A and B.
It's
a status.
It's a status, but the point is, you got to pay for that status.
Right.
Status comes and goes. Okay, it really does. I know there's people out there I know that they think that's it. But status comes and goes. And the bottom line is, why don't want a peaceful life? Because with money, people with a lot of money don't have a peaceful life. Because there's always somebody out there to try to get it from you.
Oh,
that's number one. Okay. Then you got to keep that status. Once you get up here, up high, you don't want to come down no more. You do not want to come down anymore. So make sure you are stable. You got a stable foundation on you. So the stable foundation, you won't be rocking all over the place.
Exactly.
When you finally get that money, but you know how to keep it. A lot of people get a lot of money, but they don't know how to keep it.
It's so much harder to keep money than it is to make it initially.
Yes.
So much harder.
Right. It is. We just talk about everyday things. We're not talking about, I'm rich and I can do this and I can do that. We want people to understand their sickness in finance.
Right.
We want the sickness to go. We want you to feel happy when you see a bill come. Because sometimes people see a bill, they just dread to see that mail lady or that mailman. Because they know it's coming. Same thing for taxes, tax time. They rushing to get their money from the IRS because they need that money to pay something off right away, or they want to buy something. Most of the time, it's not paying the bill.
Right.
They get that money back from the IRS. They spending on unnecessary stuff. And
most of the time, they don't have a plan for that money
right.
either. So you'll get $3,000 tax return, and then you spent $2,500 of it before that wasn't even in your plan.
Right. But why would you want the government to hold your money in the first place? Because you're using the government now as a savings account once a year. Instead of trying to ask a tax person, okay, how do I come out even? People get mad, though. People get mad when they come out even. I didn't get a dime from my IRS.
And they don't even, I don't think that they understand that you're supposed to come out even, because you're supposed to invest your own money. The bank is investing your money when they're holding it. Trust me.
The bank, the IRS, too.
Yes.
And you're not getting that. You're just getting the basic. Yep. If you get $3,000, guarantee you should have probably got more, because they held your money and got interest off your money.
You could have done something else with that money that they held all year long.
Right.
Oh, you're so right.
Right.
You are so right.
Right. So, if you get $3,000 a year, ask the tax person, how can I just break even? But meanwhile, you get $3,000. So that means that $3,000 you got to put it in one of those envelopes.
Right.
You gotta start thinking ahead. Just think ahead. It's not that hard. It's not, it's like I said, it comes easy. That's why we're asking for the envelopes. Once you start doing the envelopes, it gets you to thinking. It gets you to start concentrating on what I'm doing with my money, how I'm going to pay for that college for those kids that I want them to go to. They might not want to go, but you want them to go. So what funds did you have, what program did you set up to take out some money for those kids' education and later on? As a black community, we need to start thinking about our kids going to college.
Absolutely.
And how it's going to get paid. We don't want to keep on saying, well, they're going to get a grant or they're going to get something, a loan.
And we don't want to send them off into the world so early with debt.
Right.
You come out of college and you owe $50,000 to $100,000.
Right.
And you're going to go work a job and they're going to pay you $50,000 to $60,000.
Right.
You're behind.
You're behind
right out the gate.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why we want everybody to start thinking about their kids, thinking about their education. There's times we got to sacrifice. That's part of life.
I asked my family member, I was like, would you sacrifice 2 years of fun to come out of that $30,000 debt?
Yes.
And they was like, that was too long.
Too long to do what?
To sacrifice doing what they want to do.
So they'd rather be in debt.
They would rather be in debt.
To have a 15, 20 minutes really actually fun. Because most of the time you're on vacation, what they say, it's close to the end. Man, I need a vacation from the vacation. That means what? It was stressful anyway.
I can't be going from home for more than 3 days.
Right.
I'm like, I'm ready to go home.
Right.
But it's so much better to plan it out. Because then when you can afford to be there, you're going to have even more fun. If I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul to go on a vacation I can't afford, that would be stressful to me.
Right. How am I pay it when I get back home?
I can't afford this stuff. I'm going home to bills.
Right. So, those bills going to be there, But the point is, the whole idea is don't let the bills stress you out. Have a nice life, have fun, enjoy your family, enjoy your house. But when you're stressful, you can't enjoy anything. Especially on finance and stuff.
Right.
Especially you got, and I always have, if you have a 2-income household, use the less income. Because if one person get laid off, now you're in trouble.
Right.
If you're better off with the one, if you was making $60,000 and the other person was making $30,000, live off the $30,000. Okay?
That's a great way to look at it. That is a great way to look at it.
Because, like I said, something happened. And it happened in my household, so I know. When my husband and I was making a lot of money, and he ended up having a stroke. His income's gone. I was lucky that I had a good job to keep it going, but I had to work a whole lot of overtime.
Right, to maintain.
I would make sure our bills was getting paid. And I gave up a whole lot of fun time to make sure we ain't losing no house. We're not losing our cars. We're not nothing, because But like I said, if we was living off just who was the last person, then we wouldn't even have I wouldn't have to think about working overtime.
Right.
Right. I would say, hey, we was living off the less income anyway, so ain't no big deal. We still got more money coming in, and the bills are still getting paid, and we still can enjoy it. And and plus, I know when sickness come in, health insurance pays so much.
Right.
And then here you worry about how I'm gonna pay that hospital bill. That wipe people out quickly. Hospital bills. So that's why you need this budget. This is why at least you know where you at. Hey, you got to talk to the hospital and say, this is how much I got to pay, and that's it. And you put that in your budget. This is how much, and you ain't gonna give no more than that. If you get laid off, you call your creditors and you say, hey, I got laid off, but I want to make a budget with you.
Right.
And you keep that budget with them. That's how you maintain your credit.
That communication aspect of it is huge.
Right.
You definitely have to communicate what's going on, because they will work with you.
Right, they will.
But if you let it pile up and you don't say anything,
they gonna hammer you.
Oh, they're gonna have a field day with you.
Right. Well, they're getting close to the end again. So I'm glad you came back. Keep on speaking on this budget.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Anytime, I would do anything for you. Anytime it's a free seat, I'll be here.
Well, I appreciate it. So I guess, guys, I will see you again next Friday at 6 p.m. See you again. Bye. Before we close, I would like to say thank you to my sponsor, St. James United Body of Christ Church. And we love to give your business the opportunity to advertise on this show. Please contact me at 7keys7, that's the number 7, at Comcast.net, so we can be a blessing to one another. You can also hear us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, and Spotify at 6 p.m. every Friday. Remember, you have the keys.